All right, ladies and gentlemen, much shorter video this time. We only have got 25 to 32, but there's a little bit of depth involved here, so let's do this. Given a central angle of 42 degrees and a circle with a radius of 7.5 inches, find by rounding to the nearest tenth, remember to label. Length of the arc, remember, you have all this on here already. There's my arc length formula. So you're like, oh, okay, so 7.5 inches times, has to be in radians. So 42 times pi over 180. Let's get a little assistance here. 7 over 30. So 7 pi over 30 is my theta. And once I have that set, now I can just do, again, second in my caret button is going to be my pi. So 5.5 inches. No, it's not time to leave. So that's the length of the arc. It's a distance, just the label, you're done. Area of the sector, also taking straight from the help sheet. So when I do this one, 1/2, my radius is 7.5. Let's do a quick 7.5 squared here. 56.25. Hardy, why'd you put square inches? Because I'm squaring the inches. It's the label and the value here. Times 7 pi over 30. So 0.5 times 56.25. times 7 pi divided by 30. 20.6 square inches. Again, there's no other labels there for me to really get confused by, but again, area and length, you're measuring space, you're measuring distance, you're not measuring angle measures. So make sure your labels are on there. That's about all I got to remember for that. So as we flip to the back, last page. Find the linear velocity if your radius is 12 and the point rotates at 60 revolutions per minute. These are the ones that we have to get into radian mode. That is now my angle measure. That is my, wait, hang on a minute. No, Hardy, that is not your angle measure. That is your angular velocity. My apologies there. So once I have that, because again, I got to look, find linear velocity, you have to have angular velocity, you have to have a radius. So I have this all now. So 120 pi radians per minute times 12 centimeters. Let's see what we get here. 120 pi times 12. Whew, that's large. 4,523.9 centimeters per minute. Linear velocity. Don't put the rad in there. We're not looking for this. We're not looking for angular. We're looking for linear. So, okay. The hour hand of a clock is 3.5 centimeters long. How far does the tip of the hour hand travel in 3 hours around the nearest tenth? So you're like, okay, so how far does the tip of the hour hand travel? That's arc length. So I know there's the formula I'm supposed to be using. I got the 3.5. However, now I've got to figure out my angle measure. So how far does the hour hand, just a minute here, a little visual, travel in 3 hours? Now watch carefully. The hour hand, not the minute hand. Okay, the hour hand doesn't go all the way around in an hour. If it's noon, the next time the hour hand is going to be at 12 is midnight, which is 12 hours later. 1 full rotation's at 360 degrees, or 2 pi. We want 3 hours. So 3/12 is 1/4 of 2 pi. And 2 pi over 4 reduces to pi over 2. So that's what we're multiplying by here. So we got 3.5 times pi divided by 2. Again, just distance, 5.5 centimeters. Okay, now to our new stuff that we just got done discussing. So we got the paddle wheel of a ship this time. It's 10 feet in diameter and revolves 20 times per minute. We're moving at top speed. Using the speed and starting from a point at the very top of the wheel, write a model from the height of the end of the paddle relative to the water's surface as a function of time. Assume the paddle is 2 feet below the water's surface at its lowest point. Okay, there's a couple of very important sentences, or at least I should say statements in here, that I need to pay attention to right away. The first one, the paddle is 2 feet below the water's surface at its lowest point. So my minimum is going to be at -2. Because remember, to find our midpoint and our amplitude, we got to know the minimum and the maximum so we can plug them into the formula that we were talking about. So then going along with that, if this wheel is 10 feet in diameter, let me find a piece of paper here for a minute. So, here's this paddle wheel that's 10 feet in diameter. 2 feet of it is below the water. So there's 8 feet left on top. So my max would be 8 feet out of the water. So I got some info to work with here now. So let's see here. Let's do a little side work. So if I want my midline or my center line, we're going to do min plus max divided by 2. Remember the parentheses if you're not doing it in your head. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's going to be my center line. My amplitude is going to be the min minus the max. And when I do that, all right, wait a second here. This wouldn't be a Hardy video if I didn't have something go wrong, right? Max plus min. Now here it didn't make any difference whether I did 8 plus -2 or -2 plus 8, so I get that. Here it would make a difference. So Hardy's got to fix himself here. So max minus min over 2. My apologies on that. And so when I get to this, now what I'm going to be doing, so max minus min would be 10 over 2, which would be 5 for my amplitude. Okay, so I've got some bits and pieces working here. Next clue. Where is it? Here we go. Starting from a point at the very top of the wheel. Which one of our trig functions starts at the top and then goes down? Cosine does. So I know this is going to be cosine from that value. So what do I know then? I'm going to be starting at 8, going down to a low of -2. Let's see here. 2, 4, 6. I'll make one more line. 8, as low as -2. I know my center is at 3. So if I'm starting at the very top, I'm starting at 8. And I also, at this point, if I take just a moment here, can figure out what these values are going to be. It revolved 20 times per minute. Okay, so if it revolved 20 times per minute, there's 60 seconds in a minute divided by 20 rotations. 3 seconds per rotation. So that's going to be my period. What's in between 0 and 3? 1.5. What's in between 0 and 1.5? 0.75. And again, with using decimals, we can use our calculator to help us if we're not sure. And we just keep adding the 3/4 of the 0.75 all the way through. Now I can revisit what I started here with my graphing. So I know with cosine, it starts at the top, then it hits the midline, then it hits the bottom, then it hits the midline, then it hits back at the top. Okay? Sine goes midline, max, midline, minimum, midline. So having some understanding of what's coming is helpful because trying to mess with this on the calculator would not be an easy task. This is going to work much easier. And so once I get here and I'm looking for my equation now, center line's the start, my amplitude, it's a cosine graph. Now the one thing I haven't figured out yet is, I know what the period is, I don't know what b is. So if my period is 3, that's what 2 pi over b is going to equal. And we'll divide by 2. We'll divide by 3 because you're trying to get b alone harder. You're not trying to get pi alone. 2 pi over 3. Oof. Took a lot longer than it needed to. But that's the bits and pieces. And again, when you're on the test, if that kind of starts to shake you or something, or you start doing some parts you forget, go finish other things and come back. All right, last two. Write the equation of each for the given graphs without using a phase shift. In other words, on both of these, start at the axis and figure out whatever your cycle is going to be. So here my period would be pi over 2. But that's not the value that's going to help me with my equation. 2 pi over b equals pi over 2. 4 pi equals pi b, divide by pi. Okay, so my b value is 4. I notice my min and my max, what's right in the middle? Well, let's see, 6 and negative 2 would be 4, divided by 2 is 2. So my k value is 2. And the last thing I need is my a value, my amplitude. Now be careful here. Yes, from here to here is 4. If I was asking you for the amplitude, you would put 4. But we're going to use negative 4 because that's the inverse of a regular cosine graph, which also is a cosine graph. So, center line. In this case, we'll do minus 4 because, again, that's letting them know this has got to be the inverse of the flip. Cosine of 4x. One more time. So I work through again. My period looks to be 4 pi. 2 pi over b equals over 1. Little cross multiply action. Divide both sides by 4 pi. B is a half. Looks like we go up as high as negative 1 down to negative 5. In the middle of that would be negative 3. And from negative 3 to negative 1, or from negative 3 to negative 5, my A is 2. Now does it look like a regular sine graph? Middle top, middle bottom, middle. Looks normal to me. So y equals negative 3. Sine, no Hardy, no, plus. See, it's good that you get to see that I kind of get going too fast at times myself and need to slow down. I've seen this happen with several of you on things, but I'm not oblivious to, well, I'm not, yeah, Negative 3 plus 2 sine. Just got to slow down myself. 1/2 x. Okay. Oof, done. All right. So again, use these, use the keys, go back over things, do your practice. If you do, you'll be able to pace well for this test. If you have any more questions, let me know.